Today I'm going to share a story with you of my woes. You see, I was spanked 1,492 times as a child. If you were spanked as a child as well, you need to watch this video because I guarantee you don't know what will happen to your kids as a result. Welcome to Zach Talk. I'm glad you're here today. We expose the lies that destroy families and replace them with truth that forms strong men, women, marriages, and parents. Today, I want to expose a prevalent cultural lie about spanking that has already affected you, whether you know it or not. In fact, I guarantee you've been affected by it in the past week and likely in the past day. Then, I want to break that lie with something more powerful, the truth of your own experience and my own experience. Lastly, let's set the record straight amongst your friends and family and peers who think they know better than you do. What is it about our culture today that believes it is so much smarter than any other culture in history? You and I were spanked as children, right? I grew up in the 1980s and 1990s, which apparently was right before the new enlightened generation, which teaches us that spanking your children damages their psyche and teaches them nothing but violence and demeans them and makes them miserable little creatures. Our culture, and to be honest, most of your friends will tell you that spanking causes children to become more aggressive, that it increases fear and anxiety and damages the relationship your child has with you, that it destroys their self-esteem and weakens their moral reasoning. If they are especially astute and learned scholars, your friends might even cite an influential study like that published by Dr. Elizabeth Gershoff in a 2016 edition of the Journal of Family Psychology, in which she analyzed data on over 160,000 children and concluded that spanking is associated with increased aggression, with antisocial behavior, with mental health problems. And of course, the study conveniently failed to make a distinction between controlled spanking within the context of a loving family dynamic and beating your child mercilessly with blunt objects, actual physical abuse. And furthermore, the study failed to include in its analysis any significant number of children who were actually raised entirely without spanking. This should be important because the purpose of the study was to distinguish between the mental health effects in children raised with spanking versus those raised without spanking. But I digress. Your friend knows better than you do. Well, all I can say is that I'm so very glad that culture has finally caught up to reality after 10,000 years, mind you, of successful human civilization. Now I have children of my own, and thankfully, now I have learned wisdom and enlightenment from my own special culture, which, praise be to God, is setting us straight. Otherwise, I might do the unthinkable and damage the psyche of my own children just the way mine must have been damaged. Yes, and if this very day I closed my ears to the pink-haired, man-hating, eyebrow-pierced, braless, and childless sages of our generation who taught me how to parent, then I might fall prey to the emotionally damaging practice of spanking my own child and thereby teach them to become violent menaces to society the way I myself must have become. And thank goodness the wise and shrewd culture which has successfully raised the most self-centered, morally degraded, lazy, and incompetent next generation in the history of our great civilization has successfully held me back from turning my own children into the unhappy wretches with low self-esteem and moral reasoning capability that I myself must have. You see, these things must be true of me, because in my finite mathematical capabilities, I have successfully calculated that as a child, I was spanked 5,460 times. Well, okay, to be fair to my tremendously abusive and child-destroying parents, it's more accurate to say I received 5,460 swats through approximately 1,492 spanking sessions. And now I look at myself, wretched man that I am, having been degraded and demoralized and emotionally damaged by my parents' tremendous and heartless abuse, to the extent that today I have a loving and respectful relationship with both my mom and my dad. I've been married for 20 beautiful years to the woman of my dreams, having had the emotional maturity to begin that successful marriage journey at the ages of 21 and 19. I have 3 loving children of my own who not only laugh more than any other kids I know, but who each have started their own businesses by the age of 6, and who can recite the preamble to the Constitution, and who will look an adult in the eyes and shake their hand respectfully. I have started 6 successful businesses and have gained the respect of the people whom I respect, and have never once in my adult life suffered from a lack of respect of those in authority over me. And while some who are far less woke and hip and enlightened than myself might look at a string of successes like this in both relationship, business, and life, and they might wrongly conclude that spanking didn't actually damage my psyche or make me a violent menace to society or ruin my relationship with my parents or destroy my self-esteem or cause me to lose my entire moral compass. You see, I myself know better. You see, the same demoralized and enlightened idiots at Harvard and Columbia University who teach that men can give birth, and that speech is violence, and identity matters more than merit, and who themselves hate their parents' oppressive generation, and who themselves can't stand being around their own ill-raised, disrespectful, intolerant of authority, lazy, entitled children. But they have told me that I must be a failure in all important ways because my parents spanked me weekly, if not daily. I certainly don't want you to conclude from this monologue of mine that my life story is a contradiction on the wisdom of the most violent and entitled leftist culture in our nation's history. But perhaps instead, I wonder if you would consider for a moment, from your own experience, were you spanked as a child? Not talking to those who were abused, more to the point, I'm speaking to those who were spanked as a child within the context of a loving home which nurtured you, cared for you, and taught you that respect for authority is, in fact, non-negotiable. Did you emerge from that home with a low self-esteem and violent tendencies, and did you become a menace to society? Or is it possible that you yourself also have a story which contradicts and contrasts heartily with the wisdom of today's culture that wants you to raise your children in its own image? Now listen, I don't know what it is about human beings that makes us always want to think that we are wiser than our parents and than our grandparents. What is it about us that imagines this very generation, which prioritizes the imminent hope and opportunity of men to give birth in our military ranks, over the greatest generation which actually stormed the beaches at Normandy? What makes us believe that we have it all together and they did not? I was spanked 5,460 times as a child, which equates to somewhere around 15 swats per week from ages 3 to 10. And I want to suggest to you that my life experience and success over the past 41 years, and more importantly, your life experience and success, is a stronger indication of whether this was a barbaric and abusive force in my life and in your life, or whether it was the actions of a loving family which sought to raise us up to succeed in an insane world, and which did in fact succeed. Now, there is certainly a right way and a wrong way to spank. And there is a right time and a wrong time to spank. I think we all know this intuitively, but maybe have a hard time putting words and flesh on the principles. So that'll be the goal of my next video. And as soon as it's created, I will put a link in the description below so that you don't miss it. Please take a moment to click the subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up if it benefited you in any way. Also, please do comment below. I want to know, am I blowing smoke? Or is your enlightened culture around you blowing smoke? Have a great day, and God bless.